Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. On this channel, we spend our time looking at fantasy of all sorts, from books to movies to video games, and applying the characters within into the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Today, though, we're going to be looking at a core mechanic of D&D itself. Specifically, we're going to be looking at a subclass of the monk, straight out of Xanathar's Guide to Everything. The Drunken Master Monk. This is a stereotype you can probably imagine. It's been in a lot of kung fu movies, the idea that the martial arts of the monk mimic an inebriated person with their fluidity. But mechanically speaking, how would this play in D&D? Let's have a look. Well, when this subclass is chosen at level 3, you get proficiency in the performance skill and in brewer's supplies. It's very thematic. But the main power you're looking at here is the Drunken technique. The idea here is that when you use your flurry of blows, which monks do most of the time, you get the benefits of the disengage action. So you hit someone with your flurry of blows, and you can't be hit by opportunity attacks by them. You also get your movement speed increased by 10 feet, so you get a lot more mobility. The extra proficiency and brewer supplies thing is a 5 out of 10 for me. It's just kind of a ribbon feature. But the Drunken technique is great. You're using your flurry of blows anyway. The idea that you can hit and then move away without getting hit in the back, that would normally require a feat or the disengage action or something like that. This just lets you do it. That's great. That's really, really powerful. And I say it's a 10 out of 10 power. The real star of this subclass is the Drunken technique. At level 6, you get the Tipsy Sway power. This lets you get to your feet easier. It only takes 5 feet of movement to get up from prone rather than half your movement. And if a person tries to hit you and they miss, you can spend your key point to redirect that attack to another creature that's next to you. So if you've got enemies around you and they're trying to hit you, every time they miss, they end up hitting someone else if you use your key to do it. This isn't bad, but if you've got multiple enemies in front of you as a monk, you're kind of in a bad spot. It's nice to be able to redirect their attacks, but I still say this is 7 out of 10. It's not something you want to be using a lot. At level 11, you get the Drunkard's Luck power. You can use key points to cancel disadvantage. Disadvantage is a pretty debilitating power, but it only works one time. So if you have disadvantage because you're attacking in the dark, or because a spell is affecting you, or because whatever, if you have disadvantage on something, you have to use 2 key points to cancel the disadvantage. It doesn't give you advantage, it just cancels disadvantage. And while that's okay, it doesn't do it for the rest of the fight. So if you're fighting someone in the dark and every time you try to hit them, you're hitting with disadvantage, you cancel it once for 2 key points, then you have to cancel it again for another 2 key points. And if you're using Flurry of Blows, you'd have to do that each time you hit. It's just not worth it. Like for one key strike, no pun intended, I could see it being helpful, but I say 7 out of 10 again. It's a power that will come in handy rarely, and most of the time, just accept the disadvantage and don't spend all that key. Finally, at level 17, the Intoxicated Frenzy power. This is a doozy. When you use Flurry of Blows, normally you're using it after an attack, and then you're using your bonus action to cast Flurry of Blows to do 2 extra attacks, so that's 3 in total. When you use Intoxicated Frenzy, you're just using Flurry of Blows like normal, except instead of making 2 extra attacks, you make 5 extra attacks, for a total of 6 unarmed strikes. Except, there's a caveat. All of those 5 enemies that you're hitting with Flurry of Blows have to be different creatures. Once again, forcing the monk to be surrounded to use his powers. Otherwise, you're just using Flurry of Blows. Not quite sure. Like, if you get surrounded, if there's a bunch of minions around you or something, this is phenomenal. 1 key point, you can hit 6 times. Great! But if you're fighting a boss or a strong enemy, this does nothing for you. at all. I say it's an 8 out of 10 power. Handy in the right circumstances. In fact, invaluable in the right circumstances, but those right circumstances are bad ones that you don't want to be in as a monk. Overall, the Drunken Master has a cool power right at the beginning, extra movement and extra maneuverability, but monks are great at that anyway. This just doubles down on it. And then everything else feels a little half-baked or underwhelming. I say it's a 7 out of 10, the whole subclass. I think there is potential here. There's a lot of roleplay involved, and monks are cool. And I think that this really appeals to a specific crowd control style monk. But monks in D&D aren't built to be crowd controllers. They're meant to be skirmishers. So run in, get your hits, and get out. This one half leans into that, half doesn't. So 7 out of 10 overall. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more subclass reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.